Hey, you right guys, Truth Munchers Joe here, and today we're going to be talking about what I watched and played in June of 2020. Again, it's like the 17th of July as I'm filming this, but I still want to get one of these done every month, but I do apologise that sometimes they're going to be a little bit late. Like, I was late with the last one as well, and I think even the one before that, but we still do them, and that's what's important. So yeah, I think it was a pretty decent month. Like, I had a few more with seasons and games. There was like two big games for me with this one. So we'll do the games first. The Last of Us Remastered. I spoke about that a billion times. It's like my 20th time completing this game, but the first time I've ever got the platinum, because obviously it came out on PS3 as well, and I never got the platinum on it there. And I've had The Last of Us for years, and I just never got the platinum on it because of the online trophies were just so time consuming. But luckily, me and Morgan, Demo Morg, were just like, you know what, should we just do it before Last of Us Part 2 comes out? So we got the platinum on that finally. And then Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I've mentioned a few times in these videos now, but this month, or last month now, not this month, but last month, finally completed it. So Final Fantasy VII Remake, Last of Us Remastered was like a 5 out of 5, obviously, and then Final Fantasy VII Remake, probably give a 4 out of 5 too. I think it was a 5 out of 5 for a long time. Then some missions were a little bit slow. There was some kind of battles in there and just side missions that I didn't love. So it started to waver a little bit towards the end, but not enough to bring it right down. To be fair, actually, I might even go a 4.5 out of 5. I might even just give it the 4.5. I don't know. It's like in between there. It's like in between 4 and 4.5. So I don't know. But yeah, really enjoyed that game, and I've not delved super deep into the Final Fantasy 7 Final Fantasy 7 games because I didn't even play the original. Back on PS1, was it, Final Fantasy 7? So this is my first experience with Final Fantasy 7. And then just Final Fantasy in general. Like, I never even jumped into any of those games. I think I played Final Fantasy 12 on PS2, but that's really about it. That's the only one I went through like a heavy amount on. And I've like delved into other ones for like a couple of hours, but not enough to really have a thought on them. So yeah, that was really good. And then obviously the other game, which we streamed over on Twitch, was The Last of Us Part 2, which I really enjoyed. I do think it has flaws. There are parts of the game that I'm not too keen on, which I won't spoil, because I know it's obviously very new and people might not have still played that despite the leaks and stuff. There are parts of that game that I don't get along with, but I still love it. The gameplay, the environment, the characters, and even the story for the most part, I genuinely loved. I had so much fun with photo mode and like streaming that as well. So I landed on I think a 4.5 out of 5 with that one. Not as good as the first game. The first game is definitely more tight-knit, and I just think the story is better for that game. But for the environments in this one, the gameplay for sure. You know, the gameplay is very similar to the first one. They didn't really change much with that. Just a few things here and there. But yeah, I think Last of Us is always dependent on the story more so than the gameplay, and this one just wasn't as strong as the first one. But I still really enjoyed it. So they're the main games I played. Then obviously the obvious like Warzone, FIFA, Rocket League, you know, the ones that you just play with your mates, but that's that. And then in terms of TV shows, I only finished 3 seasons in June. So the first one was obviously 13 Reasons Why Season 4, which we did videos on. I gave 13 Reasons Why a 3.5 out of 5 overall. Like the final season, I don't know what I gave the final season to be fair, but in terms of the actual show, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I think the first season is still the best. It is a very flawed show, and I'm not going to argue with people who thought this was like a 1 out of 5. Like, I actually understand that. But, you know, it's been a long time doing this show, and I've enjoyed doing it. Like, I've not been bored at any point. There's been, like, episodes that I've been a bit stale, but for the most part, I've really enjoyed doing the show. And it has a lot of flaws. But like I say, as long as I'm having fun with the show, then I'll continue to do it, and that was the case with 30 Reasons Why. The second show that we actually finished was The Legend of Korra. Obviously, we finished season 4 of that, and then the entirety of the show. And I gave that show exactly the same rating of a 3.5 out of 5. Season 3 was fantastic. Season 4 was really good. Season 2 was weak, and Season 1 was really good as well, actually. So overall, very impressed with the show. Season 3 was definitely kind of the peak of it, and it wasn't as strong as, and as I said with The Last of Us, not as tight-knit as Avatar The Last Airbender was. I really enjoyed it. I just wish some of the development of some of the characters was a bit better. I think that's what it was. Like, some of the characters kind of felt like they didn't really grow at all. Like, you look at Avatar and all of those characters grew from, like, the first episode. Whereas Legend of Korra, some did, but majority really didn't actually develop at all. Like, they had moments in between, but then you look at them kind of from start to end, and it's like, yeah, okay, I guess. You gain some new abilities, but that's about it. But I still really enjoyed the show. I don't really understand the hate on this show, like people say, thinking it's awful. And again, it's like each to their own, but for me, I heard so much shit about this show going into it, and I really enjoyed it. So then, of course, there was Dark as well. We finished the final season of that, and I was super impressed with this show. Like, it's one of those where if people said this was their favourite Netflix show of all time, I'd get it. Like, for me, I don't agree with that. Like, I do think it's technically, possibly, the best Netflix show that they have. I just think I get more enjoyment out of other ones. But this is definitely top 5 for me. Top 5 Netflix shows, and one of the best seasons that I've watched this year so far. Season 3 stuck to landing as it needed to do. I really enjoyed the ending of it. I really enjoyed the season. I wouldn't say it's my favourite season. I'd still probably say season 1 and 2 are better than season 3. I was just so surprised by the show because I kind of went into it not knowing a lot. Like, the only thing I ever hear of Dark, or only ever heard of Dark before I watched it, was it's like Stranger Things. And I said this in the reaction as well. It's just like, it couldn't be further from Stranger Things if it tried. The only thing that it had in similar was a kid on a bike at some point and someone goes missing. That is the only similar, and I guess it's on Netflix if you really wanted to go that. It's so, I never got that argument. Like, the whole time I was watching it, I was waiting for it to kind of feel like Stranger Things, and it just never did. Which I'm glad about. Like, I didn't want it to be like Stranger Things. So yeah, that kind of confused me a little bit. But overall with Dark, I gave the entirety of the show a 4.5 out of 5. Very, very impressed with it. And then I did some rewatches. I don't really, I guess you could include these if you want, but season 1 of Shameless, I kind of went back through, and season 2, I've just binge watched going back through Shameless, but you guys know my ratings for those seasons already. And yeah, that's everything TV series wise I watched in June. Film wise, I didn't do that much. I literally did 3 films. It was very kind of weak in June. I've already done more films in July than I did in June, but first one was two films. My sister was over. It was like the first time I'd seen my sister since lockdown and stuff. So we just whacked on 2 terrible films just to have a laugh. The first one was Would You Rather, which I might have even spoke about before on this channel because I watch it like once a year, I feel. It's a terrible kind of, I don't even want to say horror film. It's like a gory film, I guess. Kind of like Saw, you know. But it's just so much fun. The acting's so bad. The storyline's so simple. It's like they are all sat down on this table and they have to play Would You Rather, but the 2 options are obviously, you know, they're going to hurt you. It's not like a happy film. Like, would you rather cut your eye out or chop your foot off? Shit like that. But it's a fun film. I enjoyed it. It's on Netflix if you want to check it out. I kind of hope they do a second one at some point, just because it's fun to watch. I gave that a 3 out of 5. I know it's technically like a 1 or a 1.5 technically, but you know, I always go off enjoyment, and Would You Rather I have a 3 out of 5 with. And then Truth or Dare was the second terrible film I watched, which again enjoyed because the acting was awful and the storyline was bad. Would You Rather and Truth and Dare. I watched 2 game horrors. I didn't even realise. I guess that's what. There you go. I gave that a 1.5. I've watched it before, but again, I watched it with my sister just to have a laugh. And then towards the end of the month, as you guys probably saw, I reacted to Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which I still stand by being a 5 out of 5. Love that film. If you want to see my full thoughts on that film, then obviously I did the reaction to it, as I'm doing with the other Harry Potter films as well. But yeah, that's basically everything that I watched and played. Not a super amount, like TV series wise. We finished a few seasons in there. And then 3 films really isn't that much to write home about, but it's the games like with Final Fantasy and both of the Last of Us games that was like the big highlight, of course. So yeah, there we go, guys. Let me know what you watched and played in June if you can remember. July, again, I'll say I'll try and do it on time, but I probably won't. But I'll see you next time. Until then, guys, take care. Peace.